about it here. Okay, just gotta send out a little tweet real quick. Make sure people know that we're doing the thing today. Okay, that should just about do it. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a little swap over to our main screen there. Hey, there we are. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and move our mic in. Lighting looks pretty decent. Okay, cool. Hey, how y'all doing? So today I found out that all of the cards for Foundations have been spoiled. They're up. They're ready to be looked at, and we can start giving our full thoughts on what we're going to be getting with Foundations. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to take a look at some cards. We're going to go through the mythics first and then the rares. Because the commons and uncommons, if we were to go through every card in the set, it would take us way too damn long. It just would not be a good time. And we'd probably be here for like a full 4 hours, like just looking at cards rather than playing the game. So let's go ahead and hop on over. Okay, here we are. So we are at mtggoldfish.com taking a look at their spoilers. And let's get started, I guess. So we already have it set to Mythic. We are just going to scroll through here and see what they are showing us. So first up, we see Progenitus. And Progenitus is a big reprint from back in the day. 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, 2 green. It's 2 mana of everything for a 10/10 protection from everything. If Progenitus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Progenitus and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So if you want to cheat this thing into play, you're going to have to do some kind of other way of doing it. You might want to maybe go for like a Genesis Wave or utilize something like an Elvish Piper kind of situation, because this is a card that will not allow you to reanimate it. It's just not for that. If it goes to the graveyard in any way, it goes back into the deck. Now, that, paired with the fact that it has protection from everything, means it can't be blocked, it can't be targeted. The only way you can get rid of this is with a board wipe or a sacrifice effect. It's a pretty nasty card. But getting it into play, that's going to be the difficult part. Okay, moving on. We also have Muldrotha the Gravetide. Now, this, I believe, was a card that came out when I was taking a break from the game, so I don't remember this card too much. But for 3 colorless and a black, a green, and a blue, so that's Sultai colors, you get a 6/6 elemental avatar. It says, during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. That's pretty damn cool. So if you got the mana for it, you can play a land, you can play a creature, an enchantment, an artifact, a planeswalker even. or a battle, because battle is a different type as well. So you can play any of those different kinds as long as you have the mana for it. That's not too bad. This is really, really good for a self-mill archetype. Really, really good reprint right there. And then for some reason, we have Llanowar Elves in Mythic. I think this might be for just this art treatment, because I think a normal Llanowar Elf should be a common, not a Mythic rare. Then we have Doubling Season over here. 4 colorless and a green for an enchantment. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. If an effect would put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many of those counters on that permanent instead. So it's basically gives you an even easier way to go about doing the Innkeeper's Talent Vraska combo, because this is just one card. You pop down, you pay 5 mana, you get it going. Versus the other enchantment where you have to have it early enough, play it, level it up all the way, make sure it stays on the table long enough for you to drop Vraska, and then you can win the game. But this right here is just an easy boom boom 1-2 punch. So yeah, Doubling Season is pretty good. And that's just for the like Planeswalker implications. And when you're talking about like tokens, making a lot of tokens, like say like you're playing like a green-white rabbit stack and you drop a Doubling Season, just go off. Okay, next we have the Twin Flame Tyrant for 3 and 2 red as a 3/5 dragon. It says flying. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. Okay, this is a Furnace of Wrath on a dragon, on a 3/5 flying dragon. So he himself will hit for 6 instead of 3. So that tells you why they set his hit point attack power to 3 instead of like 5, like a normal 5-drop dragon. That's pretty good. But honestly, how good is it? Because here's the thing is, there are so many cards right now with double your damage effects on them. Like in red, like that's been like one of their sub themes over the last several years, is just give you a new effect to double the damage on a on creatures or damage or things like that. Just burn your opponent out really efficiently. So I'm not so sure like this is going to be like a really great card. I like the fact that it comes on a flying dragon. That's pretty awesome, as opposed to just paying mana for like a static enchantment that goes on the table. This is a really cool effect. I might be able to do something with that. Okay, next we have Rite of the Dragon Caller. It is 4 colorless and 2 red mana enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Okay, this is just disgusting. Okay, so you play this, and then let's say, for example, you're playing an Izzet deck, and you've got a handful of 1 and 2 cost spells. You just drop this. You cast like Opt and like Consider or Unsummon or Lightning Bolt or Shock. You just throw all these spells at, and then suddenly you have an army of 5/5 dragons. That's so silly. And in red specifically, you have a lot of ways to give your entire team haste. This is a fantastic card. Oh my god. Okay. And then Rise of the Dark Realms, 7 and 2 black sorcery. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. So, this card's awesome. So what we do with this is we play either a self-mill or a symmetrical mill strategy, where we mill ourselves and we mill our opponent at the same time. And then we drop Rise of the Dark Realms, and then boom, army, instant army for 9 mana. Or if you can manage it, you can play this in combination with Reenact the Crime, which is a blue spell that says 1 colorless and triple blue. You can cast Reenact the Crime and basically create a copy of any card that went to any graveyard this turn. So if you discard Rise of the Dark Realms and then pay the 4 mana for Reenact the Crime, suddenly you have an instant speed army. That's pretty disgusting, especially if you have like a um, dedicated way to discard this out of your hand. Do it like when your opponent's about to go to attack you and just boom, surprise. That would be a really fun deck to build. Bloodthirsty Conqueror, what do we have here? Some of these arts are so like jarbled up that it's hard to tell what they actually are. Especially with the fact that like their text box has no like colored backing to it, so it's pretty difficult to figure this out. But Bloodthirsty Conqueror, it's 5 mana, it's a Vampire Knight, it's a 5/5, it has Flying and Death Touch, and whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So I saw this card a couple days ago, and it blew my mind. Like, this is such a good card. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. You pair that with another card that, like, just makes people, like, lose life incrementally. Like some of the bats that came out of Bloomburrow, or the snake enchantment creature that came out of Duskmourn. It's like this card is like the top end of that deck style. It's like this is absolutely going to be a deck. Think Twice. Draw a card, flashback for 3 mana. Okay, that's just a solid damn card. Should not be mythic. Probably is just mythic because of the special art treatment. But for 2 mana, draw a card, and then you flash it back. That's just a different version of Deduce. That's just a good card. And the fact that it's a flashback spell from your graveyard, so you can just play it again whenever you want to. You don't have to worry about any kind of like investigate token or anything like that. Easy. Okay, and we have ourselves a new Kaido. This is Kaido, the Cunning Infiltrator. For 1 colorless and 2 blue, you get a 3 loyalty Kaido. And he has a static ability. It says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaido. Okay, so he, again, leans himself to a more aggressive play style. Then +1 is up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, really solid +1. I like that. -2 is create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. Okay, it's not bad. I mean, there are definitely better -2s. And -9 is you get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. Okay, that's pretty funny. That is really funny. It's going to take some work to get up to that -9, but if you can manage it, that's a pretty cool emblem to have. Then down here we have Herald of Eternal Dawn. This is one that got spoiled, I think, about a week ago. It's basically Platinum Angel in white. So 4 colorless and 3 white. You get a 6/6 flash, flying. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. This is a cool card. Now, if you can get a way to protect it, now that would be an amazing card. But currently, with all the removal running around in standard, this card's really not gonna stay on the table very long. But it is a pretty damn cool card, and that is some gorgeous art on that. Then after that we have Day of Judgment, which is literally Wrath of God. 2 colorless, 2 white, destroy all creatures. That is Wrath of God. Play that with some indestructible effects. Okay, all right. So that so apparently all that was just the special cards. So now we're getting into the main set cards. We're going to see what we have here. So I'm expecting to see a lot of reprints, because this is a foundation set. This is a core set. You're going to have a lot of repeat cards here. So first up we have Ajani, Caller of the Pride. That is a reprint from days past. I actually still have a copy of that in an old trade binder that I never sold off. So I got one of those. Yay me. Next we have Angelic Destiny. It's a 2 and 2 white enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4, has flying and first strike, and is an angel. When enchanted creature dies, return Angelic Destiny to its owner's hand. That is pretty friggin' cool. Now, bear in mind the wording specifically. It says when enchanted creature dies. So if you unsummon the creature that Angelic Destiny is on, they do not get Angelic Destiny back. So very important to remember there. But 4 mana, well, honestly, for that effect, for 4 mana, I could see getting away with that, honestly. Okay, next up. Aurelia the War Leader. 2 colorless, 2 red, 2 white for a 3/4 angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Damn. 3/4, flying, vigilance, haste. Drop it on turn 6, or maybe turn 5 if you got a little bit of ramp. And you get a creature that attacks right now, and will also give you a relentless assault, allowing you to attack for a second time. That is ridiculous. That's honestly the kind of card that I would want to build a Boros deck around. That just looks fun. And then we have the Bloodthirsty Conqueror again in the normal art. You can see the difference here. It's like you can see what this guy's all about. He's a vampire. He's heavily armored. He's flying in the sky. He's got a shield and axe. He's good to go. But you look at this one over here, Bloodthirsty Conqueror. I can't tell what's going on in this image. Like you got like a little bit of a bat over here, and honestly just like a jarbled mess of art in the background there. It's like honestly, it reminds me of old Richard Kane Ferguson art. It's like very, very reminiscent of that style. But because of like granted, the art is fantastic. It's a gorgeous piece. But I don't think I would want to play this in a deck because I can't see the art. Like it's very difficult. It's very illegible. You can't fucking see it. But this one, you can very clearly see what it is. Okay, so next up, we have Chandra Flameshaper. I think this is a new Chandra. So it's 5 and 2 red, it's a 6 loyalty planeswalker. +2 is add 3 red mana. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Choose one. You may play that card this turn. +1, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Accept it as haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this token. And her -4 is Chandra deals 8 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. So that's pretty decent. Her +2 is probably her best ability, getting a lot of like really good card advantage and extra mana. However, her -4, that's really solid. So like her -4 basically is it's a fireball. It's a fireball that you can split up however you choose. It only costs 7 mana to do it. I mean, I've paid more mana for a regular fireball in the past. And she has 6 loyalty, so if you drop the -4 right away, she's still on the table. She's still ready to go for the next turn. Okay, so now we're getting silly. We have Darksteel Colossus, boys. Oh my god. I have not seen this card in Standard since its original printing in Darksteel. This card was an absolute menace in the tooth and nail decks. I hated seeing this card on the other side of the table, especially because back then there really weren't a whole lot of like really accessible exile effects for Darksteel Colossus. So this guy got to run rampant pretty hardcore a lot. So let's read it all so you guys know what I'm looking at. This is an 11/11 for 11 mana. It is a trample. It is indestructible. And it says, if Darksteel Colossus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Darksteel Colossus and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So it keeps coming back. It will keep coming back. It will keep beating you in the face. But it is 11 mana. So bear that in mind. That is definitely something you're going to want to pair with either green ramp or pair it with activated abilities to like get things into play outside of normal mana cheat and things like that. Like cards like what we talked about earlier with Progenitus, with things like Genesis Wave or Explosive Debut would work with Darksteel Colossus. So the only thing it's missing is haste. But damn, that's a good card. All right, Demonic Pact is 2 colorless and 2 black. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. This enchantment deals 4 damage to any target, and you gain 4 life. Pretty cool. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Very cool. Draw 2 cards. Also cool. You lose the game. Not cool. So, What you're going to do with this is you're going to put this on the table, let it do its thing for the first 3 turns, and then either find a way to sacrifice it, which can be very easily done with the bargain mechanic, or you find a way to pass this card off to your opponent to make them lose next turn. And that's probably going to be a deck. I mean, it will probably be a jank deck, but it will very possibly be a deck that you need to look out for. Demonic Pact, cool card. Doubling Season, we saw that earlier. Then we have Dragon Master Outcast. Wow, I have not seen this in a long time. I think this card originally came out from like Zendikar, I think. 1 red mana, 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. So, turn 6, you drop this, then you wait until your next turn to get the effect. But you need to protect this card for the entire time that it's on the table. So, be very mindful of that. Maybe pair it with green or with black for protection or resurrection effects. Also, look at the dollar values on these cards. These are some expensive ass cards. Finale of Revelation. Okay. This is X and 2 blue. Sorcery. Draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead, shuffle your graveyard into your library. Draw X cards. Untap up to 5 lands. And you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Finale Revelation. Wow, that is such a cool effect. If only I could play that as an instant, that would be amazing. But draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead shuffle your graveyard to your library, draw X cards, untap 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size. That is so just dirty, nasty. I love it. Oh man, that's just good stuff. I like that. I don't think I'll ever play it for that, but I don't know. It's a cool card. Herald of Eternal Dawn. Okay, so we saw that earlier. That's the new Platinum Angel. Kaido, we saw that. Liliana, Dreadhorde General. Now, this is a card people have been really excited to see come back. Liliana is a 6 mana planeswalker, has 6 loyalty, and reads +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Pretty sweet. -4. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. That's Barter and Blood. Awesome. -9. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. That's Cataclysm. That is so dirty. Damn, that's a good planeswalker. So expensive though, but damn, like if there's like an ultimate form Liliana, like this is probably it. This is just a good card. All right, Lyra Dawnbringer. It's a 5 mana, 5/5 angel with flying, first strike, lifelink, and other angels you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. Okay, angel deck incoming. Yeah, that's a damn good card for only 5 mana. Did Sarah Angel cost 5 mana? The old 4/4 flying vigilance? This card so outclasses that in every way. Wow, that's such a solid card for only 5 mana. But here's something I'm more excited for. Massacre Worm. Massacre Worm is so amazing. This is one of my favorite cards of all time. I love Massacre Worm. 6 mana, 6/5, Phyrexian Worm. When this creature enters, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. So it comes in and it casts Infect. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Such a good damn card. Oh, I cannot wait to play that again. Maze's End. This land enters tapped. Tap, add a colorless. 3, tap, return this land to its owner's hand. Search your library for a gate card. Put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. Pretty cool. I like that it gives you an alternate win condition. That's pretty awesome. I love alternate win conditions that don't involve just beating your opponent up. So I like that we have this coming back. Now, if this is coming back as well as like the whole cycle of other gates, so you can make this deck work in standard, then that's even better. That's fantastic. Then we have Muldrotha the Gravetide. We saw that already. Then we have Niv Mizzet the Visionary. Get your Niv Mizzies. So it's 4, a blue and a red, so that's Izzet colors. It is a 5/5 flying dragon wizard. You have no maximum hand size. Okay, you could just stop right there. That's good for me. I like that. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. What? So, okay, so if I point a lightning bolt at your face with Niv Mizzet on the table, that turns into deal 3 damage, draw 3 cards. It says whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage, so that's burn damage, any burn damage at all, pop them in the face, get some cards. You know, I already have an Izzet burn deck, like, built in Arena. This card would just slot right in. This would be really good for that deck. I would, of course, have to change the deck around to, instead of having it be like a Spellslinger deck, into more of a like blue-red control-ish deck. But that's a good card. Okay, Omniscience. Okay, we all knew this was coming, so we'll just go past this. Primeval Bounty, 6 mana. Enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Pretty cool. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Also cool. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, gain 3 life. That is such a cool enchantment. The fact that it costs 6 mana is a little nasty, but maybe this is an effect more for Commander than for Standard, because 6 mana is way too much. Like, by the time you're dropping your 6th land, you should be closing the game out, honestly. So, like, this is... It's cute, but I think it's more for Commander. Unless you can find a way to cheat it in early, then that could be cool. All right, there's Progenitus in the original art. Love to see it. Ooh, Pyromancer's Goggles. I haven't seen this in a long time. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, Pyromancer's Goggles. 5 mana, legendary artifact. Tap, add red. When that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, you can basically have a activatable fork every turn, so long as what you're forking is red. Now, it can be red, or it can be multicolored, so long as red is part of the colors. So you can be a Rakdos card, an Izzet card, a Boros card. It can be any of those. So long as it's got red in the casting cost, you can use Pyromancer's Goggles to copy it. That is a really fun card. As far as standard viability, I don't think so, but it's a cool card. Okay, next up we have Quilled Great Worm. This is a really cool art. I don't know if this is reprinted or not, but damn, that looks really cool. 4 colorless and 2 green for a 7/7 trampling worm. And it says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Okay, that's disgusting. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. Okay, so you pay its full cost, mana cost, and then you remove 6 counters from other creatures, and you get the Quilled Great Worm back. That's a really cool effect. I actually really like that. And I'm not like a huge fan of like big stompy creatures, but I am a big fan of recursion and reusing assets that you've already used. So Quilled Great Worm gets the old thumbs up from me. Ramos, the Dragon Engine. It's a 6 mana, 4/4 flying artifact dragon. It is legendary. Whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos for each of that spell's colors. Remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos to add double white, double blue, double green, double red, double green. Activate only once each turn. So you can remove 5 counters from Ramos to cast Progenitus. Honestly, like, these cards really feel like designs from an older time of Magic, and it does really show, like, especially with the whole like if it goes into your graveyard, shuffle it into your library. I was like, it's it's a cool effect. But as far as like competitive, don't think so. Here we see Rise of the Dark Realms again in the original art. Really cool effect. Can't wait to play it. Next, we have Rite of the Dragon Caller. We saw that one already. Again, really cool effect. Can't wait to play it. Sire of Seven Deaths. So we have our obligatory Eldrazi here. It is a 7 mana, 7/7 Eldrazi. It is not legendary. And it reads First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, Ward, pay 7 life. So this card is lucky number 7's the card because it's a 7/7 for 7 mana and it has 7 abilities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the last one is Ward, pay 7 life. So this is lucky number 7's the card. It's pretty cool. But why is it going for $40? Jesus Christ. I mean, it is a pretty good like game-ending card, but damn, $40? All right. I might need to buy a box of this stuff. Jesus. Sphinx of Forgotten Lore is a 4-mana card, 3/3 for 2 and 2 blue. It has flash and flying. And it says, whenever this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. That's nasty. So you can flash this in at the end of your opponent's turn, and then on the following turn, you get to attack with it. And then you can just flash back whatever you want from your graveyard. That is a really cool effect, especially if you're playing like a lot of like really low cost cards. Like if you play like maybe like an unsummon or an opt or like a 2 mana like burn spell or something like that, or a 2 mana kill spell. Say you're playing this in blue black. And like you just flash this in end of turn, attack, kill a prospective blocker so that the Sphinx survives combat. It's like that's just a good damn card. That is really good. Sphinx of the Final Word, 7 mana, 5/5. This spell can't be countered. Flying, hexproof. Instant and sorcery spells you control can't be countered. Yeah, I would say this Sphinx definitely has the final word. Jesus. I like him. I like him a lot. He makes all of your counter spells uncounterable. Makes all of your burn spells uncounterable. Kill spells, wrath effects, like whatever you need to make sure that it goes out, you play Sphinx of the Final Word to make it happen. Jeez, that is a cool card. Twin Flame Tyrant. Okay, that's the one we saw earlier. That's the Furnace of Wrath on a stick. On a flying stick. Valkyrie's Call. Okay, so this is actually a little bit different. Valkyrie's Call, 5 mana, enchantment. Whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, pardon me, when it dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types. That is really cool. So whenever one of your dudes die, you immediately get it back stronger with flying, and then it becomes an angel. So then you can get like any of like the bonus effects that specifically call for angels. That is a really cool card. Pretty expensive, but a really cool effect. It kind of reads as like win more, but I kind of want to win more with this card. Okay, next up, we have Vivian Reed, 5 mana Planeswalker for 5 loyalty. And it says, +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, cool. Not too bad. So it's a good way of like digging up extra threats when you have it. -3 is destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Okay, so you very likely will play Vivian Reed in response to a nasty that you need to deal with, and then the following turn, use her +1 to go look at the top 4 cards. And her -8 is you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, and have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. That's pretty bananas. Again, this would be a great candidate for doubling season. Play doubling season, drop Vivian Reed, Vivian Reed comes in as a 10 loyalty instead of 5, and then you immediately hit the -8. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Vizier of the Menagerie is a 4 mana, 3/4 snake cleric. And so you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. You can spend mana of any type to cast creature spells. Okay, that's cool. I like that a lot. Especially that last line right there. You can spend mana of any type. So yeah, just build a deck, like 90% creatures, and just go boom, 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 boom. Just dudes. I like that. That's a cool card. Then we have Zimone, the Paradox Sculptor. Little known fact, Zimone is probably one of my favorite characters to come out of Strixhaven. Just a really cool character, utilizing the power of math to like master spells. It's such a cool angle. So, Zimone, Paradox Sculptor, is 2 colorless, a green, and a blue. It is a 1/4. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Okay, that's pretty dope. Then, blue, green, tap, double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and/or artifacts you control. And/or artifacts. I can definitely see this pairing very well with artifacts that want you to play with oil counters. So that could be pretty interesting. Very interesting indeed. Awesome. I like it. Okay, and then we're getting back into these weird art cards. Extended arts, alternate arts. And some of these arts are actually really dope. I like these a lot. Yeah, really cool art on some of these. Ooh, that Vivian Reed looks really nice. I like that spectral boar behind her. That's really cool. That's a card I would like frame. Yeah, okay, so we're just getting into alternate arts and alternate treatments, booster fun, that kind of thing. Okay, so we've looked at all of the mythics. Now we're going to look at the rares and see what else we get to play with. Thankfully, MTG Goldfish has a pretty decent rare filter. Okay, so now we're moving in again. Okay, so there's Zimone again, but that's a mythic. I'm not sure why that showed up here. Lathril, Blade of the Elves. So this is actually a reprint from a commander-specific product that they are moving into Standard. So I'm pretty excited for this. So it's 2 colorless, a green and a black for an Elf Noble. It's a 2/3 with Menace. And it says, whenever Lathril deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. And then tap 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. That's kind of nasty. It's like that last effect, really cool. You're gonna have to really like ramp up to it. It's like probably gonna play like an elf ball kind of strategy. But that first effect right there, the whenever Lathril deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. Let's say, for example, you play Lathril on turn 4, and for some reason your opponent doesn't kill it. You get to untap and attack with it. Maybe you slap an Audacity in it. Make it a 4/3 with Trample, and you just fucking smash through for 4. Suddenly you just made 4 elf tokens. Or maybe you slap a giant growth or 2 on it and just hit it for an additional +3 or an additional +6. You can get to that 10 elves pretty quickly if you build the deck correctly. But yeah, pretty cool card and really good art. Now, next we have Elenda, Saint of Dusk. I saw this card already, and this is probably one of my top cards from the entire set. 4/4, lifelink, hexproof from instance. So that's telling us that she's so fast that she can dodge spells. Pretty cool. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, Elenda gets +1/+1 and has Menache. Elenda gets an additional +5/+5 as long as your life total is at least 10 greater than your starting life total. And in Standard, that is not hard to do. You can play this in a black and white life gain, life drain deck, which will absolutely be built, by the way. And just play Elenda as like your marquee attacker and like just win. Like this card is really strong. So like if you have 10 greater, if you have at least 30 health, which is not hard to do, this is going to come in as a 10/10 because it gets +1/+1 and menace from the first effect, making it a 5/5, and then additional 5/5, making it a 10/10 if you have 30 health, which is so easy to do. It's so ridiculously easy to do right now. The Selesnya deck that I'm playing right now with all the enchantments, most of my games end with me being at like 40 plus health. It's really easy to do. Okay. Next we have Sylvan Scavenging. It is a 1 and 2 green enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Create a 3/3 green raccoon creature token if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. That is pretty decent. I like the fact that it's only 3 mana and you get to make raccoons so long as you have a 4 or greater power on your side of the table. That's really awesome. So I could probably see this being a not like a linchpin card, but like a role player style card, much in the same way that like Skrelv's Hive kind of fits the white toxic decks. So this could potentially do some work. There's another copy of it in the extended art. Honestly, I think I like the extended art on this one more than the original art. It just looks a little more adventuresome. It looks like the raccoon and the frog are going out on a little adventure. They're going and like gathering herbs and nuts and things for their buddies back home. It's pretty cool. Loot, the Exuberant Explorer, the new mascot of Magic the Gathering. 1/4 Beast Noble for 3 mana. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Pretty cool. I like that. That's a good effect. 6 mana. Tap. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put it onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Okay, so kind of like what we were talking about earlier with like Progenitus and Blightsteel Colossus and all that. It's like, yeah, you'll have to get a lot of mana in play to get those specific cards into play. But this is a great way of cheating big nasty creatures from your deck directly into play. It will cost you 6 mana, and in most cases it'll probably cost you like your entire turn to do this move, but it is a good move, especially if you don't have any creatures in your hand and you really need to get something into play. Then Loot can help you get that. So honestly, this is easily a better version of Loot than the original one that we got in OTJ. So I'm not upset about this. This is a decent card, and I can definitely see this scene play, especially because it has a pretty decent toughness rating. It's a 1/4. That's pretty good. And then we have Genesis Wave. This is going to have some people excited. X and then triple green. Sorcery. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards. That's permanent cards, not creatures. Permanent is anything. You may put any number of permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then, put all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield into your graveyard. So, this serves your battlefield. It serves your graveyard for recursion strategies or self-mill strategies. It just costs a lot. It costs a whole lot to cast. So, you probably end up playing this in maybe a green-blue deck that has counterspell backup, or just be very careful with when you cast it. Make sure you're casting it when your opponent doesn't have any blue mana open. So Genesis Wave is it's a good card. I remember seeing this deck being played. I think it was like around like 2012, 2014. It was the core set when we had Inferno Titan and Prime Titan in standard, or Primeval Titan. And I remember watching a guy pop off a Genesis Wave for 6 and getting both of those on the table with that Genesis Wave. And I'm like, that's just so nasty. That's just dirty. You need to go take a bath after that. That's just a dirty move. Ugh. Good card. Good card, good memories. Next up, we have the Dropkick Bomber, 3 mana for a 2/3 Goblin Warrior. Other goblins you control get +1/+1, so that's a Goblin Lord. Also, bear in mind that we also have an existing Goblin Lord from Dominaria United, and that is still in Standard, so you can play goblins if you want to. Creature, Goblin Warrior. 1 red mana until end of turn. Another target goblin you control gains flying, and when this creature deals combat damage, sacrifice it. So this guy, fastball specials one of his goblin friends. Pretty cool. Blasphemous Edict. Now this is a cool card. 5 mana, sorcery. You may pay 1 black mana rather than pay the spell's mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. Pretty cool. All right. So it's a 1 mana board wipe if the board gets clogged up hard enough, which will happen. We have a lot of token-based strategies right now that have been just running rampant, from like bunnies to like that white-red token build. Hell, even just like people playing like go wide strategies like Boros. It's like it's a really easy to get to that 13 because it's not just your creatures on the board, it's your opponent's creatures on the board as well. So it can be pretty easy to hit that conditional. Okay, next up we have the Abyssal Harvester, 3 mana, 3/2 Demon Warlock. That's pretty awesome. Exile target creature card from a graveyard that was put there this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. Then exile all other nightmare tokens you control. Okay, so basically this wants you to have this on the table, kill an opposing creature, probably with a spell or something, and then you exile that from the graveyard, and then you get a copy of it, like a whole copy of it, like power and toughness and everything. But you can only have that one until you choose to use Abyssal Harvester's ability again. Now, a good thing to remember here is, in the past, a lot of effects like this would only allow you to keep the token for as long as the Harvester was on the table. That does not read this at all on the card itself. So if you kill the Harvester, you still get to keep like a Sheldred token or whatever. It's pretty good. Pretty damn good. Let me see. Let me read this again real quick. Exile target creature card from a graveyard that's put there this turn. Okay, so it doesn't care where the card entered from. So if you're playing this in a self-mill kind of deck, and you self-mill something huge like a COVID Rex or like a big nasty demon or something, you can use Abyssal Harvester to exile that and put it directly into play. That's nasty. That's real nasty. I like it. Okay, next up, Drake Hatcher. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 human wizard with vigilance and prowess. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many incubation counters on it. Remove 3 incubation counters from this creature. Create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flame. Oh, that's pretty cool. It's very old magic, but I can definitely see this being playable, especially because it's a vigilance and prowess for only 2 mana. I mean, that's very easy to slot into a Spellslinger deck. And I might have just the deck for it. Sky Knight Squire, 1 and a white for a 1/1 Cat Scout. Whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. As long as this creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it has flying, and is a knight in addition to its other types. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. That's honestly pretty decent. For only 2 mana? Yeah, I like it. Okay, there's another Abyssal Harvester. Adaptive Automaton. Okay, what's this? 3 mana for a 2/2 construct. It says, as this creature enters, choose a creature type. This creature is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Awesome. So this is a Clone Lord. So you play this, and you also play something like, say, like Roaming Throne or whatever. And then, like, say you're playing in like an Oops All Phyrexians deck. So, boom, your Phyrexians get +1/+1. You get double triggers if you have the roaming throne in play. This is pretty decent, and I could definitely see this scene play. The only bad part about it is that it only pumps other creatures of the chosen type. It does not pump itself. So on its own, it's only a 2/2 for 3 mana, which might not make the cut in today's standard. Alesha, who laughs at fate. I love that title. That is just a good title. 1 black-red for a 2/2. First strike, legendary human warrior. Whenever Alesha attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, we're already cooking. I like that. Raid, at the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, that's not too shabby. If you attack this turn, return mana value less. Yeah. Yeah, so the bigger Alesha gets, the bigger creatures can come back from Alesha. Yeah, I like that. That's a good card. And it has First Strike. First Strike cannot be understated. That is a damn good effect. Okay. Anthem of Champions. White and green creatures you control get +1/+1. That is so damn strong. Like, if you're playing a token strategy, if you're playing an enchantment strategy, this is a card you want to be playing. That is a good card. Arabo, the First Fang. 2 and a white for a 2/2. Legendary cat avatar. Other cats you control get +1/+1. Whenever Arabo or another non-token cat you control enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Pretty cool. Okay, if you play more cats, get more cats. Easy. Oh, Arcanus the Omnipotent. Now this is a throwback. So it's janky, but people used to play this. So it's a 6 mana, 3/4. You can tap to draw 3 cards. Wow, that's pretty cool. Or you can pay 2 and 2 blue to return Arcanus to its owner's hand. So if your opponent tries to blow him up, pay 4 mana, get it back in your hand. But if you can get this on the table and keep it on the table, that's just tap, draw 3 cards, tap, draw 3 cards. Stupid card. Love him. Archmage of Runes. 5 mana for a 3/6 giant wizard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Very good. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Also very good. I like that a lot. Mana cost is really high though. Like, typically when you're playing like a Spellslinger style deck, you're playing in a shell that literally everything in your deck is like 1 or 2 mana. So like 5 mana for this might be a bit much, but it's a pretty cool card though. Ashroot Animist. It's a 2, a green, and a red for a 4/4 trample lizard druid. It says when this creature attacks, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. Okay, so pump the Ashroot Animist, attack, and then pump up another creature to have more attack power. And also, it gives trample to the other creature too, so keep that in mind. Maybe pair it with another creature that has like a really cool hits the opponent effect. That could be pretty cool. Authority of the Consuls. Now, I saw this card a couple days ago, and I don't feel good about this card. This card is format warping. This is a card that everyone that is playing white is going to be playing. So it's 1 white mana enchantment. Only 1 white mana to play this. It says creatures your opponents control enter tapped. So haste creatures, forget about it. You're out. Whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, gain 1 life. This card wrecks aggro. Like, imagine if you have like 2 of these on the table, because this is not a legendary enchantment. You put 2 of them on the table. Whenever your opponent plays a creature, you gain 2 life. Amazing. Simply amazing. Like, blue-white control decks are going to love this card. Ailey, Eternal Pilgrim. What does this do? 2/3 for a white and a black with Death Touch. It has 1, sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's an effect I haven't seen in a long time. 1, white, black, sacrifice another creature. Exile target non-land permanent. Activate only if you have at least 10 life more than your starting life total. Wow. Okay, so another card that pairs perfectly with Elenda. Like a deck that wants you to have as much life as humanly possible so that you can do cool shit with it. I like that. That's really cool. Especially because this card really enables it too, because you can sacrifice another creature to gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Really solid. No. They brought back Ball Lightning. No way. We. Okay, so provided Authority of the Consuls isn't in play, Ball Lightning is an amazing card. 6/1, trample, haste, sacrifice at end of combat for only 3 red mana. Mono red burn decks are going to be loving this card. Oh, that's really cool. I've not seen Ball Lightning in so long. Banner of Kinship. It's a 5 colorless artifact. Says this: as this artifact enters, choose a creature type. This artifact enters with a fellowship counter on it for each creature you control of the chosen type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each fellowship counter on this artifact. Okay, so it's a new version of Coat of Arms. Coat of Arms did something very similar to this, except it didn't need the counters. So Coat of Arms is still better than this card, because if you cast Coat of Arms on an empty battlefield and then fill the battlefield after that, your creatures will still get a bunch of +1s. This requires you to have a bunch of kinfolk on the table when you cast it. So that does make this a little bit worse. Still a cool effect though. Oh no, Basilisk Collar. This card is cool. 1 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. This is an absolute baller of a card. I love this card so much. What we used to do is we would play Basilisk Collar and we put it on a pinger. Like a little 1/1 dork that would tap to deal 1 damage to anything. You pop a Basilisk Collar on it, it deals the 1 damage, Death Touch triggers, kills the creature. Doesn't matter what it is. Such a good card. Blasphemous Edict, we saw that already. Brass's Bounty, okay, what's this? 7 mana, sorcery. For each land you control, create a treasure token. Wow, double your mana, double your fun. Brass's Bounty, double mint gum. That's pretty cool. I like that. Not too bad. Really expensive. Should not see play in standard at any level. Definitely a commander card though, especially because it's 6 colorless and 1 red. So splashing this, super easy. Celestial Armor. 2 colorless and a white. Artifact equipment. Flash. When this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end turn. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 in flying and has an equip cost of 4. So it gives the +2/+0 in flying. That's just like the static ability. But the real goodness of this card is casting at flash speed and then countering an opposing kill spell. Let's say, for example, you have like the Platinum Angel on table and you really need to protect it. Celestial Armor is a great option for that. So pretty good savior type spell. There are cheaper ways to do this, but not ways that are equipments. So that's kind of cool. Next up is the Charming Prince. 2 mana for a 2/2 human noble. When this creature enters, choose 1. Scry 2, gain 3 life, or exile another target creature you own. Return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. That's pretty cool. So you get a blink, you get 3 life, or you get Scry 2. All on a bear, a 2/2 for 2. That's honestly a really good card. Yeah. Awesome. It's not going to be ending any games for you, but it's a good early game drop. I like that. Consuming Aberration. What is this? 3 mana, blue and black, for a star horror. Consuming aberrations, power, and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. Okay, that's cool. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card, then puts those cards into their graveyard. Oh, I like that. That's mill. Hang on, let's read this again. Power and toughness each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. So any cards, doesn't matter. Whenever you cast a spell, any spell, that could be like any other creature, an artifact, enchantment, doesn't matter. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of the library until they reveal a land card, then puts those cards into their graveyard. Wow. So if you happen to hit a really good vein of non-land cards, you can just nuke someone's library with that. That's a pretty cool card. I like that. Crawling Barrens. It's a land. It says tap, add a colorless, or pay 4 mana, put 2+1/+1 counters on this land. Then you may have it become a 0/0 elemental creature until in a turn. It's still a land. Okay, so if you have the mana for it, this is like a super Mishra's Factory. So you animate it for 4, it animates as a 4/4, but it keeps those +1/+1 counters. Because like when it transforms back into a land, the counters don't go anywhere. It just becomes a land with +1/+1 counters on it. So then the next time you activate it for 4, suddenly it's a 4/4. The next time it's a 6/6, so on and so forth. That is a cool card. Crystal Barricade, 1 and a white, 0/4 defender. You have hexproof. Okay, immediately right there, good card. A 0/4 blocker early game that gives you hexproof, that's just good. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. Blue-Eye Control. Blue-Eye Control plays this card. This is a sideboard card for Blue-Eye Control. Cultivator's Caravan. I think I remember this card from like a long time ago. Ooh. I think this is a reprint from Mercadian Masks. That is an ancient card. Okay, Cultivator's Caravan, 5/5. Oh wait, no. I'm so wrong. I didn't realize this is a vehicle. My bad. Okay, it taps for 1 mana of any color, and it has a crew cost of 3. And it's a 5/5. Okay, so it's it's a mana rock that you can eventually crew, so not bad. Curator of Destinies. So 5/5 for 6 mana. It is a Sphinx. We're getting a lot of Sphinx with this set. I like that. I like the Sphinx. This spell can't be countered. Flying. When this creature enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library and separate them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. An opponent chooses one of those piles. Put that pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Okay, so it's a 5/5 flying fact or fiction. That's good. That's really good. I like that a lot. Okay, Day of Judgment, destroy all creatures, we saw that already. Desecration Demon, 4 mana for a 6/6. Flying. At the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature of their choice. If a player does, tap this creature and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Wow, that's honestly pretty dope. 4 mana for a 6/6. I think, personally, I think people would be much more into playing Archfiend of the Dross over this, because it's the same mana cost and doesn't have the way of tapping down the creature. However, this is a good alternative too. So if you don't have those and you happen to open these, that would give you a good alternative to Archfiend of the Dross, because it is a 6 mana or 6/6 for 4 mana. And your opponent won't always have creatures to sacrifice for it, especially if you're playing black. Dictate of Crewfix. What is this? This is a 1 and 2 blue enchantment flash. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a symmetrical effect. Each player draws cards. So here's what you do. And because this card has flash, so you wait until the end of your opponent's turn. You cast this, and then on your turn, you get to draw an extra card. And then, before you end your own turn, you either blink this out, So it comes back at the end of the next turn, which would be the end of your opponent's turn, so they don't get to draw. Or you bounce it back to your hand to be replayed later. Or you sacrifice it to a bargain effect. So Dictate of Kruphix could absolutely be played for just your favor if you build correctly. I think that's a cool card. I like it. Draycatcher. Okay, we saw that already. Very cool card. Drakuseth, Maw of Flames. What the hell are you? Okay, 7 mana. So this is a big boy. So 4 colorless and 3 red mana for a 7/7 flying legendary dragon with amazing art, mind you. Whenever Drakuseth attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. Wow. That's really good. So 4 damage. Say like it attacks, deals 4 damage to like your biggest blocker, and then 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So like say like your opponent has like a 4/4 flyer to block with. You attack with Drakuseth, you nuke the 4/4 flyer. Then you deal 3 damage to like any other creature that's on the table, and then 3 damage to like a planeswalker they have, or 3 damage to their face. That's really, really good. That's a really cool dragon. I like it. Okay, let's see what's next. Dread Summons. X and double black. Sorcery. Each player mills X cards. For each creature card put into a graveyard this way, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Okay, cool. So you mill both players, and for each creature card put into a graveyard, any graveyard, you make zombies. That's pretty cool. What I would pair this with is probably, what was it? I think it was called Doomsday Excruciator. Came out in Duskmourn. The card that basically nukes everyone down to like the last 5 cards of their library. So you play that, then you follow up with Dread Summons on the next turn, win the game. Easy. Oh wait, it's each player mills. Oh, that might not be too good. You may need to be a little more careful with this card. Drogskull Reaver. I remember this card from a long time ago. 5 colorless, white and a blue, 3/5 flying, double strike, lifelink. Whenever you gain life, draw a card. Very, very cool. Double strike, lifelink. Maybe gain life, draw a card. It is pretty cool because the fact that it has double strike means that you will draw 2 cards off of this attacking. I could definitely see this being like a reanimation target. I cannot see someone paying 7 mana for this kind of effect though. However, if you get it on the table and you can like lock up the game with this, that's so much card advantage. Electro Duplicate. 2 in a red, sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it has haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this token. Flashback 4. I like that as flashback. That's pretty cool. So you fork a creature. Maybe you fork Drakuseth, or maybe you fork Drogskull Reaver, and you just beat some ass for 1 turn, and then maybe later you want to do it again. That's just a cool card. I like that. Elenda, Saint of Dusk. We've seen her already, and you know how I feel about this card. Elvish Archdruid. 2/2 for 3 mana. Other elves you control get +1/+1. And it can tap to add a green for each elf you control. Elf Ball may be back. This is a good card. I used to play this card a long, long time ago when it first came out. I think it came out in a core set, maybe like 8th edition or 9th edition. But this card was absolutely a core card in the Elf Ball decks back then. Itali, Primal Storm, 4 mana, 2 red mana for 6 total. It is a 6/6 Elder Dinosaur, and it says when Itali attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. That's pretty awesome. So it's not as good as 7 mana Itali, because this needs to attack before you get to use its effects. But It's red, and red has a lot of ways to give creatures haste, so you may be able to just pop this down and attack with it. Exemplar of Light is a 4 mana, 3/3 angel. It reads, flying. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever you put one or more +1/+1 counters on this creature, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, so it's a 4/4 flying angel that whenever you gain life, you draw a card and put a +1 counter on it. So you play this with an effect already on the table that says whenever you play a creature or whenever a creature comes into play, gain a life. So that means this creature is going to come in as a 4/4, gaining you 1 life and 1 card. For 4 mana, that's pretty damn decent. That is good. Extravagant Replication. 6 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. Oh god, that's nasty. Oh, I can just see people copying things like Simulacrum Synthesizer with this and just copying it every single turn. That is just, oh, that's just nasty. Also, bear in mind the person that's in this card here. This card has a very similar effect to, God, what was the card? It was a card from New Capenna. It was a New Capenna that would cause you to like copy spells from your graveyard. It was in red and it was 6 mana, just like this is 6 mana but in blue. Forget the name of it. I think it was called like Arcane Bombardment or something like that. And I think that character in this art is a callback to the character in the original card's art. Felidar Retreat. Oh, I remember this card. This is going to be bad. This is going to be real bad, boys. 4 mana, enchantment, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, choose one. Create a white cat beast creature token, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. I'm gonna have to be playing control soon. I mean, seeing these cards kept coming is like, I don't know. This is looking a little nasty. Flamewake Phoenix, 3 mana for a 2/2 flying haste. This creature attacks each combat if able. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may pay 1 red. If you do, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, actually. I like that. I like that it relies on power more than anything else. So, like, you can pair this pretty effectively with Gruul and get some big beefy boys out there and have this come back every turn. Fumigate is 5 mana, sorcery, destroy all creatures. You gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Okay, it's still not as good as Sunfall, but it is a cool alternative. Not too bad. Ghirapur's gremlin population poses a threat to the infrastructure of the fairgrounds. Threats must be eliminated. Okay, that's funny. Wow. Okay, cool. All right, Genesis Wave again. Then we have Galta, Primal Hunger. Look who's back. 12 mana, 12/12. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. And it has trample. Too bad it doesn't have haste. If it had haste, then devoting that much to getting Galta into play would be awesome. Now, here is why we are going to be playing Angels soon. Giada, Font of Hope, is back. Giada came out in New Capenna, and she most recently rotated out of Standard. So Angel decks have kind of suffered because Giada is pretty much the best Angel Lord we have had access to in a long time. So let's read it here. It's a 2/2 for 2 mana. Legendary creature Angel, flying, vigilance. Each other angel you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. And then you can tap, add 1 white mana, spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. It's pretty great. It's a good card. Flying Vigilance, you drop it down, you attack for 2. Second main phase, you tap her for mana to get a bigger angel out onto the table. Put +1/+1 counters on it. Really solid. Pair Giada with just Exemplar of Light. Exemplar of Light comes in. It comes in with a +1/+1 counter on it from Giada. You get that card draw. It's just a really, really good card. I love Giada so much. I can't wait to play with her again. Gigantosaurus is a 10/10 for 5 green mana and is really dope art. If you're going to make a full art card out of a single card, why not do it on a card that has no text? Gilded Lotus. Okay. 5 mana, tap, add 3 mana of any one color. Can't see the scene too much play outside of Commander, honestly. Cool card, cool effect, awesome throwback to the old cards. But 5 mana just to get on the table is just not enough. Gratuitous Violence. 2 and 3 red. Enchantment. If a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So it's a Furnace of Wrath, but for creatures specifically. Halana and Elena are back. Awesome. This is going to do so well for red-green big creatures decks, or just like red-green value decks in general. I'm glad that they brought back Halana and Elena. This is just a really, really good card. 2/3, first strike, reach. At the beginning of combat in your turn, put an X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is Halana and Elena's power. That creature gains haste until end of turn. Stupid good card. Okay, next up, Harbinger of the Tides. It's a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard for 2 blue mana. It says, if you may cast this card as though it had flash, if you pay 2 more to cast it. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then when this creature enters, you may return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Even better. So you pay it for its flash cost. During your opponent's attack phase, after they've tapped their attackers, drop it into play, bounce a creature. Really, really good card. I like this a lot. That's a card I would play, even outside of like a Merfolk-centric deck. Harmless Offering, 3 mana. Target opponent... pardon me. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. So this is specifically the card you're going to be playing in conjunction with... what's the name of the card? I forget the name of the card. It was the Liliana card with like the 4 abilities, but the last ability is like you lose the game. So like you use all the other abilities, wait until you get down to the last part, play Harmless Offering, pass the card off to your opponent loses the game. So Harmless Offering, pretty good. I don't like that it's in red. So like you kind of have to go into black-red in order to pull this combo off, but it's doable. It's totally doable. Hero's Bane, 5 mana, Hydra. This creature enters with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. 4 mana, put X +1/+1 counters on this creature, where X is its power. Pretty solid mana sink right there. I like that. High Fae Trickster is a 4 mana 4/2 with flash, flying, and you may cast spells as though they had flash. Oh my god. Okay, all right, here we go. Here's the combo. We play High Fae Trickster. Next turn, we untap, we attack, we do all of our normal stuff, and then on the opponent's turn, we play that big 10 mana spell to draw 10 cards, untap 5 lands, and all that extra nonsense. Okay, this is exactly the card I have been waiting for. Being able to flash this in and have the ability to cast all of my spells at flash speed. It is a Vidalcan Orrery on a 4/2 beater. This might be my top card of the entire set. This might be the top card. This is such a good card. Oh my god. All right, enough gushing. Let's move on. High Society Hunter is a 5 mana 5/3 flying vampire noble that reads, whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever another non-token creature dies, draw a card. Okay, awesome. So say 5/3 puts your opponent on a 4-turn clock. It gets bigger if you sacrifice a creature, and whenever another non-token creature dies, your side or their side, you get to draw a card. So it's a value engine. It's a significant threat. It's a good card. I like High Society Hunter. And also, dope ass art. Look at that. Homunculus Horde. 4 mana, 2/2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Oh, that's just silly. I don't think I'll be playing that strategy at all. No. Unless like there's like something like a third part of the combo that like triggers when like new creatures come into play. Oh no. Immerstrom Predator is back. Oh, I hated this card when I first started playing. Well, when I first started playing on Arena, the Viking set was in play, and this card was a huge player in that set. 4 manas, 2 colorless, a red and a black, 3/3, Vampire Dragon. Let me read that again. Vampire Dragon. Flying, whenever this creature becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Right there. Dope. Amazing. Good card. Sacrifice another creature. This creature gains indestructible until end of turn and tap it. Stupid good card. Such a good card. For only 4 mana. Oh, I'm going to be playing that. I hate that I'm going to be playing it, but I'm going to be playing it. Ooh. Okay, moving on. Calastria Highborn. This was a key card in one of my vampire decks back in the day. This card, I believe, came out with our first foray into Zendikar. Calastria Highborn is a 2 black mana vampire shaman. It is a 2/2 creature. Whenever this creature or another vampire you control dies, you may pay 1 black mana. If you do, target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This is such a good card. I didn't even play this card in a sacrifice deck. I just played it in a straight up blue-black vampires deck. Vampire mid-range. You beat your opponent up with like the creatures initially, and then whenever one of them happens to die, oh look at that. You get to drain out the last few hit points from your opponent. Such a good card. Oh my god. All right, Kellen, planar Trailblazer. Okay, so we got Cowboy Kellen again. It's a 1 mana, 2/1 legendary creature, human fairy scout. 1 and a red. If Kellen is a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever Kellen deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. 3 mana. If Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. So, basically, this version of Kellen is retracing his steps backwards through the Waygates. So he's starting here on Thunder Junction. You pay the 2 mana, and he goes backwards to Ravnica. Then you pay the 3 mana, and he goes backwards again to his home world. It's a pretty cool card. Not gonna lie. Like, I do like the first effect of like you attack with this and your opponent doesn't block, and you just pay the 2 before combat damage is done, and he becomes the detective, allowing you to get the top card of your library. So it's a pretty cool effect. But you probably want to play it having at least 3 mana available, so you can play that shock off the top of your library. All right, next up we have Kiora, the Rising Tide. 2 and a blue mana for 3/2, legendary Merfolk Noble. When Kiora enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Threshold. Whenever Kiora attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may create a Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. That's pretty nasty. Okay, when she enters, you draw 2 cards and you discard 2 cards. Cool. So that feeds Threshold. When she attacks, if there's 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it's not creature cards. It's not specific. It's cards. If there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, super easy to do in a blue deck. Then she just starts making dudes, big dudes. I like Kiora. I like Kiora a lot. That's a cool card. But you know what I like even more than that? Friggin' Coma. I can't believe they brought Coma back. Coma is so fun. I love Coma. 3 mana, 2 green, 2 blue. So it's 7 mana total. It's an 8/12. This spell can't be countered. Trample, Ward 4. Ward 4. Dirty. Can't be countered. Ward 4. Whenever Coma deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. This card is so stupid. It's so... If it hits the opponent, it deals any combat damage to a player, which it's going to do because you can't counter it. You can't target it unless you pay 4 more mana. It's going to trample over whatever you block with because it's a freaking 8/12. And then you make 4 3/3s. So you basically generate 3, 6, 9, 12 worth of board presence just for hitting your opponent. God, this card's dumb as hell. I can't wait to play it. All right. Krenko, Mob Boss, 4 mana, 3/3. Legendary creature, Goblin Warrior. Tap. Create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. Got goblins, make goblins. It's a goblin day. Kaikar, the Zephyr Awakener, is a bird wizard, 3/4 for 2 colorless, a white, and a blue. Flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. Exile another target creature you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so it is a blinker. That's awesome. And then we have create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So let's read the exile one more time. Another creature you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, cool. So you can definitely dodge removal spells or like mass removal or things like that just by playing like a draw spell. Because that's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get one of these. And also, like if you're playing like say like a target removal spell or a draw spell or a counter spell or anything like that, you get to make 1/1 spirit birds. That's pretty dope. And it's only a 4 mana card too. That's honestly a really good card. Okay, next up we have Lathless, the Dragon Queen, with utterly amazing art. Like you can even see like her horns kind of like form a crown at the top of her head there. That's pretty dope. So 6 mana, 6/6 flying dragon. Whenever another non-token dragon you control enters, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. 1 in red, dragons you control get +1/+7 until its turn. So she has fire breathing for the team. And whenever a non-token dragon you control enters, make another dragon. That's just good. There's so many just really good cards in this set. Oh my god. I'm thinking I might actually have to buy a box of this crap. Okay, Leyline Axe. So this is an artifact equipment that has the Leyline text. So it's a 4 colorless mana. Is equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample, and has an equip cost of 3. If this card is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. So pretty decent. Like as far as like ley lines go, having an equipment on the table that gives +1/+1, double strike, and trample with an equip cost of only 3, I mean, you could do worse. I mean, that is a pretty decent equipment. I don't know how often I would play it, but it's decent. I mean, because like if you don't get it in your opening hand, it can feel like a dead draw when you're having to spend 4 mana to get it into play. So that's not the best. But if you get it in your open, Linden, the Steadfast Queen, 3 white mana. So very devoted to white on this one. It's a legendary creature, Human Noble, is a 3/3 with Vigilance, and it says whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. Pretty great. Okay, so this would be a card not for the white and black life gain decks, but for the mono white kind of decks. I do like that as Vigilance. The Vigilance makes me happy on that card. Okay, there's Loot again. We saw that already. Lunar Insight. I remember this card from a while ago. 3 mana, so it's 2 and a blue. Sorcery. Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. For each different mana value. Non-land permanents. Okay, that's actually pretty decent. You can draw a lot of cards off that. Oh, oh my. Okay, so if you've been following the channel for a little bit of time here, you may have seen me talking or playing what I call Boomer Jund, which is basically a recreation of an old Jund deck from like 10, 15 years ago. This card was in that deck. This is Maelstrom Pulse. 1, a black and a green. Destroy target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent. So you can nuke tokens with this. You can nuke multiple copies of the same creature. You can do a lot with Maelstrom Pulse for only 3 mana. And it says destroy target non-land permanent. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it is. You just blow it up. This card is going directly into my Boomer Jund deck. This is such a fun card. I can't wait to play it. Oh man. The only thing I need now is freaking Blightning, and we're good to go. Maze Mind Tome. 2 mana. Artifact. Put a page counter on this artifact and scry 1. 2 and tap. Put a page counter on this artifact. Draw a card. When there are 4 or more page counters on this artifact, exile it. If you do, gain 4 life. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's something that like allows you to get a little bit of incremental value over time, and then once it hits 4, you exile. It does not say you may, but you do exile it, and you gain 4 life in the process. Okay, so it's not too bad. Okay, then we have Mentor of the Meek. 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, you may pay 1 colorless. If you do, draw a card. That's decent. I think I would like this more if it was 2 mana, but 3 mana feels a little slow. Midnight Reaper. 3 mana, 3/2. Zombie Knight. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to you, and you draw a card. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Non-token creature you control dies. This creature deals 1 damage to you and draw a card. Okay, yeah, that's decent. That can definitely give you a lot of incremental value. Mossborn Hydra. 3 mana, 0/0. Trample. This creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double the number of +1/+1 counters on this creature. Oh yeah, that's going to get paired up really well with the plant guy, landfall guy from OTJ. I forget his name. I think his name is like a Bristly Bill or something like that. So yeah, that could get out of hand pretty quickly if you stack the deck right. Myojin of Night's Reach. This is a card from way back in the Kamigawa days, the original Kamigawa days. So 8 mana, so it's 5 colorless and 3 black. 5/2. Myojin of Night's Reach enters with a divinity counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Okay, that's cool. So if you cast it from your hand, it comes in with a divinity counter. Myojin of Night's Reach has indestructible as long as it has a divinity counter on it. Dope. Okay, so it's a 5/2 indestructible for 8 mana. And then remove a divinity counter from Myojin of Night's Reach. Each opponent discards their hand. Oh, man, that's bad. It's pretty bad. By the time you have enough mana to cast this from your hand, 8 mana, by the way, even if you're ramping up for it, most opponents are going to be down to like maybe 3 or 2 cards left in hand if they're playing mid-range or aggro. The only deck this is going to do well against is a control deck, but a control player is just going to counter this. Unless you happen to have a way to make it uncounterable, like you have Cavern of Souls naming Spirit, then you can get this into play and do all the things you want it to do. But, yeah, not quite good enough. Honestly, it wasn't quite good enough back then either. I don't remember anyone playing that card. Okay, next up. 9 Lives Familiar. This is a 1/1 for 3. This creature enters with 8 revival counters on it if you cast it. When this creature dies, if it had a revival counter on it, return it to the battlefield with 1 fewer revival counter on it at the beginning of the next end step. So this is a cat with 9 lives who will come back 9 times. So again, if you need something to sacrifice over and over and over, 9 lives does it. Let's see. Does it come back immediately? Okay, no, it comes back at the beginning of the next end step. So you can't really abuse it 9 times in one turn. That would be a little too good. Null Priest of Oblivion. Now this is a card I did not get to play with because it rotated shortly after I started playing the game. So it was 2/1 for 2 mana. It's a kicker cost of 4, so you can pay 4 mana to get the kicker. Lifelink, Menace. When this creature enters, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it is a 2/1 with a lifelink and Menace that comes in with a Zombify attached to it if you pay the extra mana. Pretty awesome, especially because the kicker cost itself is the exact same mana as old school Zombify. So that's a pretty dope card, and I'm glad to see this coming back. Ovika, the Enigma Goliath. So this is a reprint of a card that is currently still in Standard. But it's a 5 blue and a red, 6/6 flying, ward 3, pay 3 life. It is a Phyrexian Nightmare. It says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens, where X is the mana value of the spell. They gain haste until end of turn. So it's a interesting card. I've never played it myself. I never found a deck that I really wanted to use this in. But it's a really cool effect. I don't know if people are going to be wanting to play it, though, because it's pretty expensive. Okay, Painful Quandary, another instance of a card that is still in Standard. So Painful Quandary is 5 mana. Enchantment, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life, unless they discard a card. Pretty cool. And then we have a Phyrexian Arena. What the hell? They decided to lock your card? Did you call them? Do you need me to make a call? Because I can do that. If you need me to pull some money out and come out to you, I can do that. Yeah, that's a little awkward. Do we? Let me check our app real quick. Make sure there aren't any weird things going on. Probably just a moment. Checking, checking, checking. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other like transactions that we didn't approve. Yeah, yeah. There, I just checked the mobile banking app. There are no unauthorized transactions. There should be literally no reason for them to be locking your card. Um, yeah. As soon as I get done here, I will I'll bring you some cash so you at least have something to utilize. How much do you need, honey? Yeah, that's a little upsetting. I'm sorry to hear about that. We'll get it figured out. Well, maybe I can call them for you then and try to get your shit unlocked. That is if they'll let me, because typically with bank shit, they don't let someone who's not the card holder do anything. So I'd say let's wait about like 30 minutes or so, and then we'll call them. Man, that's annoying. Bonus mad. Yeah, justifiably so. I would be bonus mad if suddenly I realized I couldn't use my card and there was no reason for it. I would be really upset about that. Okay, let me catch up on this chat here. What is MTG Foundations anyway? Boy, everything Magic is so effing complicated on purpose. Yes. Did you know that MIT has qualified Magic the Gathering as the most complex game on the planet because of all the additional rules and formatting and everything like that that comes out with every set? Because of so many extra rules. Basically, every card rewrites the rulebook with every release. that it's just become such a complicated and complex game that it's just the most complex game on the planet. It's kind of interesting. All right, let me see here. We're holding it for Extreme. Let me see how much more we have to go through, because there are a lot of cards in this set. Okay, so we're almost done with this. So I'm gonna finish this up, and then I'll come out and bring you some money. Okay, so let's just go through this real quick. So we just talked about Painful Quandary. That is a reprint that is in standard already, and Phyrexian Arena is also already in standard. You should know what this does. It's a 3 mana enchantment, beginning of your upkeep, draw a card, lose a life. So it's a pretty good value engine. Next up, we have Predator Ooze. I believe this card is another reprint from, I don't remember exactly where, maybe like a couple years back. But it's a 1/1 with Indestructible for 3 green mana. It says, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature dealt damage by this creature this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So whenever it kills something, it eats it, it gets bigger. Then you have Preposterous Proportions. It's a 7 mana, 5 colorless and 2 green. Sorcery. Creatures you control get +10/+10 and gain Vigilance until end of turn. They should be getting Trample, not Vigilance. Green doesn't want Vigilance. It wants to end the game. Primal Might. X and a green. Sorcery. Target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn. Then it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. And that's actually kind of cool. I like that. Maybe they're mad I didn't want to ruin my credit. Oh, yeah. 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 Recently, the bank reached out to us and tried to sell my wife on a new credit card because we happen to have pretty decent credit. And when we looked over the terms, it was actually worse than the current credit card that we have with them. So, not going to get that. No. Okay. Prime Speaker Zagana. 2 colorless, 2 green, 2 blue. It's a 1/1 Merfolk Wizard. Prime Speaker Zagana enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. Okay, that's kind of cool. So, comes in to match the power of someone else. So, if you're going to match my freak, Prime Speaker Zagana wants to do it. And then Prime Speaker Zagana enters, draw cards equal to its power. Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. So you see, you have like a 5/5 on the table or something like that. Play Prime Speaker Zagana, comes in as a 6/6, yeah, and then you draw 6 cards. That's pretty dirty. I like that. All right, Raise the Past. 2 colorless and 2 white sorcerer. Return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's pretty decent. It's too bad that it's only cards that are 2 or less. I would prefer it to be 3 or less. But for 4 mana, even if you're getting like 2 or 3 creatures back, that's a pretty good thing. I like that. Rampage and Baloths. How do you like that? 6/6 Trample. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. That is a reprint, but it's a solid reprint. This is a good card. I like this a lot. Redcap Gutter Dweller. That is also another reprint of a card that is currently in standard. This one came out in Wilds of Eldraine, actually. 2 colorless and 2 red, 3/3 Menace. When this creature enters, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So, perfect card to play alongside the 9 Lives cat, or anything else that you would want to sacrifice. So it's a pretty decent value engine and a decent beater. Regal Caracal. 5 mana for a 3/3. Other cats you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. And when this creature enters, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. Pretty decent. It's a little cat lord. +1/+1 and lifelink. So yeah, you can be gaining a lot of life with a lot of cats. Rite of Replication. 4 mana, kicker of 5. Create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell was kicked, create 5 of those tokens instead. This is a primo card in Commander right now, because you can just choose whatever broken thing that you have and make 5 copies of it. It's pretty silly. River's Rebuke. 6 mana. Sorcery. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand. Wow. So that's a mass. That is a mass unsummon or mass boomerang for all of your opponent's permanents. It is a sorcery though. However, if you play it with that merfolk that we saw earlier, we could play it at flash speed. Pretty solid card. Pro tip, never let points be the reason you get a credit card. Points are usually worth a penny on every dollar you spend on random BS you probably don't want or need. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like I'm sure there's like a bunch of like membership cards that we've accrued from various like gas stations that we're not even using the points on. We're just giving people our information. Rune-Scarred Demon. 7 mana, 6/6 flying. When this creature enters, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay, so it's a 6/6 flying demon that casts Demonic Tutor when it comes in. That's pretty awesome. Scavenging Ooze. 1 and a green for a 2/2. 1 green mana, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and you gain 1 life. That's pretty decent. Decent alternative to the raccoon that does a very similar thing. Yeah, definitely looking at you, Target. Yeah, Target's been trying to get us to sign up for a card for a long time. Scrawling Crawler is a Phyrexian construct, 3/2. The beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player loses a life. Okay, so that's a pretty cool little thing you can pair up with like a Sheoldred or other effects like that. Seer Slicer Goblin. 2/1, raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. Oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty decent card. Little guy that makes more guys. Sky Knight Squire, we saw that earlier. Ooh, Slagstorm. I remember this. Slagstorm, choose one. Slagstorm deals 3 damage to each creature, or Slagstorm deals 3 damage to each player. This card was really solid back in the day. Either blow up your opponent's creatures, or you can cast it at the end of the game to just get that last 3 points of damage to your opponent. This was a really good card. I believe this came out in Mirrodin. Speaking of, Solemn Simulacrum. This is a card I'm excited to see back. I'm really happy this is back because this is a card that I used to play in all of my sacrifice decks a long time ago. So 2/2 for 4 mana, Golem. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And when this creature dies, you may draw a card. It's just such a good value card. It gives you value when it comes in, it gives you value when it leaves, it potentially gives you value off of the sacrifice outlets that you're utilizing. It's just a good card. Soulstone Sanctuary. It's a land. It taps for a colorless mana. You can pay 4, and this land becomes a 3/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types. It is still a land. Interesting. I like the creepy hands reaching out from the base of the monolith there. That's pretty cool. Spinner of Souls is a 4/3 reach spider for 3 mana. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put the card into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That's pretty cool. And like that's not like when that creature dies, it's when any other non-token creature dies. So pretty good. Steel Hellkite is back. It's a 6 mana, 5/5 flying dragon, artifact creature dragon. It has 2 colorless. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And X, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by this creature this turn. Activate only once each turn. Pretty damn good. So each non-land permanent with mana value X. So it has to be exactly X, not X or less. So keep that in mind if you're going to be playing that card. Stormkirk Noble. This creature can't be blocked by humans. Okay, good. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like that. It's decent. I like the art. I like the theme. Yeah, good. Surak, the Hunt Caller. 4 mana for a 5/4 legendary human warrior. It says at the beginning of combat in your turn, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. It's kind of interesting. Doesn't really do that much more. It doesn't have any like keywords or other effects on it. It just does this one thing. Beginning of combat in your turn, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target creature you control gains haste on it. Okay, well, you can have it give itself haste if you already meet the criteria when it comes in. So that's kind of cool too. Yeah, I would say it has potential. It would need the right deck. Swift Blade Vindicator. 1/1 for a white and a red, double strike, vigilance, and trample. That's just a solid card. So 1/1 for 2, 3 very relevant combat relevant keywords. Pretty solid. I like it. Then next we have Sylvan Scavenging. We saw that already. Torian Mauler is a shapeshifter. 3 mana for a 2/2 with Changeling, which means it has every creature type. And it says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's interesting. 3 mana, has all creature types, so you can play it in almost any kind of deck. And it punishes your opponent for playing cards by putting +1 counters on that creature. Could be interesting. It could be interesting. Tempest Djinn. 0/4 flying. This creature gets +1/+0 for each basic island you control. And it's a triple blue card. That's honestly not too bad. Yeah. 0/4 flying, +1/+0 for each basic island you control. Yeah. It's a different version of Haughty Djinn. Okay. Next up we have a series of lands here. We have the Temple of Abandon is a red-green. When its land enters, you scry for 1, and it adds either red or green. And there is a temple for each of the different color pairings. So we have Deceit, that's blue and black. Enlightenment, that's white and blue. Epiphany is blue and red. Then we have Malady, that's green and black. Temple of Malice is red and black. Temple of Mystery is blue and green. Then we have Temple of Plenty, that's white-green, and Temple of Silence is white and black. Oh, and Temple of Triumph is white and red. So, yeah, that's some cool new dual lands we're getting this set. Next, we have the 1,000-Year Storm. It is 6 mana, 4 colorless, a blue and a red. It is an enchantment, and it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell you've cast before it this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. That's pretty dirty. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell you cast before it this turn. Okay, and that doesn't say like once per turn or any like limitations or like that. It's like you get that on the table and you just start flinging cards, and each card that you copy or that you play gets a copy for each one previous to it. So let's say you start with an unsummon, and then you play Shock. Shock gets copied once. Then after that you play like Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike gets copied 2 times. Then let's say you play like another unsummon. That unsummon gets copied 4 times. And then you play like another burn spell. That burn spell gets copied 5 times. And like you can do this very easily by just playing a bunch of 1 mana or 2 mana spells. That's pretty good. I like that. Ooh, Time Stop is back. And this is another card that was pretty popular in the original Kamigawa days. It's 6 mana, literally end the turn. Just turn's over. Your opponent wants to go attack? No. Cast the spell. Turn's over. Sorry, my turn now. Not your turn, my turn. Yeah, game over. Yeah. Great card for blue-eye control enjoyers. Tiny Bones, the Bobble Burger. Not burger, burglar. Is that 1 and a black mana for a 1/3 legendary creature skeleton rogue, and says whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it from their graveyard with a stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. That's pretty cool. So it's a good switch up on Tiny Bones. Rather than requiring you to hit the opponent, it's just he's waiting there for you to discard a card. And he has an ability that says 4, tap, each opponent discards a card. Activate only as a sorcery. Pretty cool. Voracious Great Shark. It's a 5/4 for 5 mana. Flash. When this creature enters, counter target artifact or creature spell. Oh, wow. So you can play Jaws at instant speed to counter your opponent's creature. That's pretty awesome. I like that card a lot. I might be playing that card coming up. Wildborn Preserver. This is a 1 and a green elf archer, 2/2. yeah, Sharkman's pretty awesome. He's really cool. And really cool art too. Like it looks like Jaws breaching the water and eating someone's boat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that card a lot. Okay. Wildborn Preserver, 2/2. Flash, reach. Whenever another non-human creature you control enters, you may pay X mana. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on this creature. Oh, that's kind of cool. He's a decent guy. Could be played as a decent blocker. You can make him bigger if you need to. It's not bad. Wilt Leaf Liege. It is 1 and 3 of either green or white in any combination. And it says other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Other white creatures you control get +1/+1. So if you have a creature that is both green and white, that creature will get +2/+2. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be real good. That's a kind of card that is going to be replacing Baloth in a lot of sideboards right now. Wishclaw Talisman, 1 and a black artifact. This artifact enters with 3 wish counters on it. 1, tap, remove a wish counter from this artifact. Search your library for a card. Put it into your hand. Then shuffle. An opponent gains control of this artifact. Activate only during your turn. Remove a wish counter. Search your library for a card and put it into your... Okay, so it comes in with 3 wish counters on it. You get first choice of putting a card into your hand. Then your opponent gets this, and they get to use it. And then it comes back to you, and you get to use it a second time, and then the card goes away. That is a weird card. I don't like it. I don't like that it gives your opponent the ability to tutor as well. So that doesn't sit right with me. So I probably would not play that card. Zetalpa, Primal Dawn, is a giant friggin' pterodactyl. 8 mana, 6 colorless and 2 white for a 4/8 legendary creature elder dinosaur. Flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. Okay, it's just keyword soup. It is 8 mana, keyword soup. He's a big dang boy. I like him. I like him a lot. Zul Ashur, the Lich Lord. 2 mana, 2/2, zombie warlock, ward of pay 2 life. And you may tap, you may pay, or you may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. Hey, that's really good. That's really good, actually, because like there's no extra mana cost involved. You just tap it, and you get to play a zombie from your graveyard. That's really cool. I like that. Okay, and then we're getting into the extended arts and the extra foil treatments and all that. So we don't need to look at any of those. So that is all of the mythics, all of the rares that we are going to be getting with this new set. This set is absolutely humongous. So I think we're going to be having a lot of fun with a lot of the cards coming in this set. So we're going to have a lot of decks to build coming up soon. Look at this. There's so many cards that it had to reload as I was scrolling up. Kind of silly. Okay, so I got to go deal with this thing and find out what's going on with my bank. So I'm going to be gone for probably an hour, hour and a half, whatever. I will boot up another stream later for just some gameplay and hanging out. But for now, that is it. I'll see you all this later.